If a cluttered desk is a sign of a cluttered mind, what is an empty desk a sign of? It's another day, you're watching iGyaan, and today we're reviewing the new Redmi Note 11S. So the phone has been launched in India starting at a price of 16,500 rupees, and the next sale is on the 28th of February. I thought people were done with flash sales, but apparently not. So we'll have links to buying the device, or at least registering or getting a notification for the phone when it goes on sale. It is available in three colors. We've got the space black over here. It's also available in a polar white and a horizon blue. The phone is quite slim. It's 8.09 millimeters in terms of thickness, and it weighs in at 179 grams. And variants will have a little bit of difference with respect to the grammage of the weight, but it's more or less roughly in the 180 grams range, which is fairly lightweight, and that's primarily because of the excessive use of plastic. So the frame is plastic, the back panel is plastic, and it's really thin plastic that if you rub your hand across the back panel, you can actually feel where the battery ends and certain components here as well. So there's a little bit of flex in the back panel, which is not entirely a bad thing, which means that it will not easily crack the back panel, but it also means that the components may get smushed quite easily. But the fact that it is slim means that they're definitely keeping the build quality questionable. You do have a fingerprint scanner on the power button, which is a nice place. I perfectly love that position for the fingerprint sensor. And then you do have stereo speakers on both top and bottom. The front does have Gorilla Glass, and primarily you have a 6.43-inch AMOLED display. This has 1,000 nits of brightness, and your usual suspects, you get a dark mode, a reading mode, and a sunlight mode as well. So you get about 1,000 nits of brightness. If you are outside, it automatically detects it and boosts the brightness. You also get HDR and a DCI P3 color gamut as well. The stereo speakers will help with watching content on this and gaming on this, and there's a whole bunch of things they've done for gaming, which I'll get into a little bit later. The display is great for consuming content, but it's also great for everyday use. It is also a 90 Hz refresh rate display, so it's more than 60 Hz. I personally think that it's time that 120 Hz displays should trickle down to this price bracket, because this is one of the most exciting price brackets as far as the Indian smartphone market is concerned, and a 120 Hz display would be really beneficial in this price bracket. The device is running MIUI 13 out of the box on Android 11. Google is already testing Android 13 at this time, so Android 12 updates should start rolling out in the near future, and if not, it's a real disappointment because Android devices are really falling behind as far as updates are concerned. The phone is running on a Mediatek chip. It's a G96 octa-core chip. So irrespective of what variant you do get the UFS 2.2 storage. You have a lot of things that the company has done to make sure that heat is removed from the chipset. So you do have a copper pipe as well as liquid cooling, and you also have graphite sheets. So a whole host of things that we are typically seeing in gaming phones, graphite sheets and liquid cooling, all of those are now sort of in a mid-ranger device, and that's a good thing as far as consumer usage is concerned, because if you do want to game on this device, you can easily manage to do that. As far as performance is concerned, you're getting what you'll expect from this price bracket. They do save a little bit of money from moving from Snapdragon to Mediatek, and that is a big cause of a lot of companies now providing Mediatek chips. The phone also has a RAM booster, giving you a total of up to 11 gigabytes of RAM, using a little bit of virtual memory and then using your stock memory as well, which can be again useful for things like gaming or long gaming sessions, multitasking and things like that. Will work better because you do get that additional 3 gigabytes of RAM if you do use the RAM booster. Now, MIUI 13 is great. You do get a whole host of features that are new to the operating system, but you still have a few usual suspects that I think that the company should have removed by now. So for example, you don't get to remove the Get Apps Store sort of app. It's pre-installed, you can't remove it. There are also certain other applications that are pre-installed, you can't remove. And I think that Xiaomi should realize, or actually Redmi should realize, that a lot of people now don't want those apps, and for those who do, there should be an option in the beginning to ask you whether or not you want those apps, and then you should be able to deselect and not have those apps installed. For a lot of the other apps that previously you couldn't remove, you can remove now. So the UI and the graphical user interface, more or less, you can customize quite a lot, and you can clean up quite a lot by removing a whole host of things. And as far as our usage is concerned, we did not see any ads so far. So the problem that we had with these devices is gone, at least for the time being. Now, day-to-day performance and using the device day-to-day is no problem. The phone performs really well. The 90Hz display paired with the new MIUI interface is fast and responsive and works well on the device. So no complaints there as far as we're concerned. Benchmarks also perform as you would expect from this price bracket. Overall, you do get a good package as far as specifications and overall performance is concerned. You do have a 5000 mAh battery that does support 33 watt of fast charging, and you do get a 33 watt charger inside the box. You do have a split cell battery, so it charges both parts equally, and hence you get a slightly faster charging without having any adverse effects on the battery life itself. A 5000 mAh battery is really good, and in our battery usage, it's gone on for about 24 hours. And it says that remaining time is about 20 hours as well. So overall, as far as usability and battery life is concerned, you will get a good amount of screen on time. This is mostly a lot of standby, but our screen on time has been about 4 hours so far. So expecting another 2 to 3 hours of screen on time is not going to be a problem for this device. So the cameras are a mixed bag. We get a main camera, which is a 12 megapixel camera, but super samples to 108 megapixels by binning 9:1 pixels. This gives you a hyper resolution image. And this is the Samsung HM2 sensor. And we've seen this in the past. So you're getting that as your main camera, and then you also have an 8 megapixel ultra wide camera, and then you have two cameras that are completely pointless, which are the 2 megapixel macro camera as well as the depth camera. Now the 2 megapixel depth camera, sure, it can be used for portraits, but most of the portrait image processing is done by the phone after you click the image. So the depth mapping is not really used. In fact, if you look at the image before it maps out, it doesn't cut out the crop properly. It has to do it in post. With the macro sensor, the images, sure, you can get some macro shots. You can go up close, or actually closer, not really up close to the subject. But if you click the picture with a 108 megapixel sensor and then zoom in, you actually get better results than you do with the macro sensor, because of the 2 megapixel nature of the sensor. So the macro sensor is a complete waste, and so is the depth sensor. I think the two cameras, the 108 as well as the 8, are the ones that you're going to be using the most. The 108 actually does a fantastic job indoors and gives you a good amount of light as well as clarity. And every time you zoom in, the phone throws a layer of processing on the image and cleans it up a little bit more, sharpens it up, and improves the contrast. So you can zoom in and get a pre-processed image if that's something that you want, or you can shoot in the pro mode and then just dump that image onto your computer or something, and then modify it if you do want to take images from this device. Overall, images are okay and satisfactory. Front-facing camera is a 16 megapixel camera, and you do have a good amount of features here as well. You do have filters as well as portrait on the front camera, and it does a pretty good job. On the main camera, as far as video is concerned, it's a big letdown because you only get 1080p video at only 30 frames per second, not even 60 frames per second on 1080p. Like I mentioned previously, video is what is king nowadays, and companies should focus more on video quality and less on images. But it seems that Redmi thinks that it's not important enough. And the 1080-30 video is okay if you want to use it, but I definitely would not recommend you getting this phone for its video capabilities. The phone is also missing out on 5G, and while network reception is good and you can expand your storage without needing to compromise on a SIM card slot, the lack of 5G means that if you're planning on buying this phone and making sure that it works in a couple of years, that may not happen if 5G gets launched in India. I mean, it's a gray area whether or not you should buy a phone for 5G. But if you do want a phone that is 5G proof, this one is not going to be that device. Overall, the Redmi Note 11S is an interesting phone, and it does have good few features, including a robust build quality despite there being a liberal use of plastics. It's lightweight, it has a fantastic display up front, and MIUI 13 is a massive improvement, especially comparing it to some of the other competition that is available in the market. The fact that you do get the RAM booster and a lot of cooling capabilities with the graphite sheets as well as the vapor chambers, etc. Those really make it a compelling offer. but it does miss out on certain things, and those may be a letdown for a lot of people, including the lack of 5G and including the useless placement of the two cameras that are there and no proper video recording modes on this device. That is something that is definitely a letdown, but everything else is good. So if you don't need video and if you don't need 5G, the Redmi Note 11S is a pretty good option. That's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, smash the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're not already a part of Team iGyaan. This has been Bharat. I'll see you guys in the next one.